What values Russia is fighting for in Ukraine is clearly seen in a way how Russians are fighting. Explosions were reported early on November 17th in the capital, Kiev, as well as other cities across the country, including Odessa and the Black Sea coast and the city of Zaporizhia. Russia's missile attack targeted power infrastructure across Ukraine, forcing the launch of preventive outages. Russia fired over 120 missiles and drones across Ukraine overnight and in the early morning as Moscow targeted the country's energy grid in an effort to disrupt power supply as winter looms. It was the biggest missile and drone attack on Ukraine since August, with reports of attacks on critical infrastructure in the regions of Lviv, Ivano-Frankivsk and Rivne in the west, as well as in Kryvyi Rih, Vinnytsia, Odessa and Kiev, and all over Ukraine. The massive attack comes as Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine grinds towards its day 1,000 of this criminal Russian war of aggression. Russia is expending huge amounts of weaponry and human life to make small but steady territorial gains to the nearly one-fifth of Ukraine it already controls. Ukraine, meanwhile, is struggling to minimize losses, maintain morale and finally convince allies that with military aid not only promised but actually delivered in time and without absurd restrictions can turn the tide. US President-elect Donald Trump has said he could quickly end the war without providing any specifics, though how exactly he will do it.
Russia launched one of the largest air attacks, drones and missiles against peaceful cities, sleeping civilians, critical infrastructure. This is war criminal Putin's true response to all those who called and visited him recently. We need peace through strength, not appeasement. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha.
On November 16th, the group of G7 leading industrialized countries, as usual, reiterated its unwavering support for Ukraine for as long as it takes in its struggle against invading Russian forces. And the same as usual, that reiteration did not help much in the face of Russian terror actually happening here in Ukraine. This time it was so massive that it prompted neighboring Poland to scramble jets.
Due to the massive attack by the Russian Federation using cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and unmanned aerial vehicles on objects located, among others, in western Ukraine, Polish and Allied aircraft have started operating in our airspace. Poland's Armed Forces NATO Operational Command on social media X.
Poland said it had activated all available forces and resources at its disposal, the on-duty fighter pairs, and the ground-based air defense as well as radar reconnaissance systems are at the highest state of alert. Remember about a year ago, I said that if long-range restrictions are not going to be lifted, Poland will be gradually learning what is it to be Ukraine these days. When you're craving immediate help and literally bleeding and yelling in pain and asking the world for help, and the world says, sure, as long as it takes, and does not even lift restrictions. Well, dear Poland, we're sorry for that, but welcome to the club. What you're about to see is an air raid alert aggregation map for 2023. I repeat, for 2023, not even for 2024, as the year is not over yet. So on New Year's Eve, feel free to double these figures you see in each sector, as every single part of our country is being bombed and shelled 24.77 days a week and 365 days in a row. Even now, while you are watching this very wrap-up, something already is coming our way from Russia. 800 children were murdered by Vladimir Putin in Ukraine during 998 days of this war. That is a child a day almost. Hundreds of missiles and UAVs during just one last night. And Putin's seat warmer Dmitry Medvedev called this war crime a Russian peace negotiations. And after all that, some got used to a role of a victim in Europe and America that are reaching out to Putin and asking him to stop. And of course, Putin escalates all he wants. While these some are, after numerous failed attempts in a row of trying to appease Russian dictator, turn to their constituency and say that things must be done first thing first and Ukraine is not that important as Mexican border in the US, or oil and gas prices for Hungary and Slovakia, you name it. And while every country deals with its own priorities, Putin grabs more and more land off Ukraine, kills more and more people in Ukraine. And soon, not only in Ukraine, as Poland can surely confirm that. Now, so if World War III is ever going to happen, please blame Olaf Scholz, Zara Wagenknecht, Viktor Orban, Robert Fico, and any pro-Russian or simply cowardly backing politician in Europe and America responsible for losing the momentum and trying to appease a monster instead of fighting him off. And one more thing. You don't have to be a friend of Ukraine to stand for normal human values Ukraine is fighting for, like sovereignty of the nation. But if you do, for some reason, consider yourself a friend of Ukraine, then please raise your voice and send a petition to your government with as many signatures as you can collect, saying, "Stop talking for Ukraine. Act."